Cynthia is one of the most powerful trainers of all time, really giving people who grew up in the DS era unforgettable PTSD, including me. Genuinely, I don't know why little me thought I could beat her with a level 72 Torterra and a level 32 Machoke. Even though she is mainly known for ruining kids' childhoods, she has a lot more depth to her that kinda just goes under the rug. So after today's video, she undoubtedly will seem that much more interesting to you. With that being said, now let's go over the history of Cynthia. Cynthia is the champion of the Sinnoh region, as her first appearances are in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. She also is the first champion that is a woman, so we gotta give her bonus points for inspiring new champions. Her ace Garchomp in the anime was shown to be her first Pokemon that actually hatched from an egg. Soon after, she challenged the league and became the champion of Sinnoh. This love for mythology makes sense to why she spends most of her time in the Sinnoh region, as they are probably the loriest region in all of the games. She does research on all legendary Pokemon here, due to her really taking an interest in making theories of what she researches. One of her theories is that Garantina may not have actually been banished to the Distortion World, but more on that later. This hobby contributes to her reign as champion, because it adds to her super mega brain. She is definitely one of the smartest characters in all of Pokemon. Our first encounter with her in the games is Eterna City. She introduces herself as Cynthia and that she studies Pokemon mythology, so at this point she's being very nonchalant about being champion. She gives us the HM cut, then drops some lore that her and Professor Rowan go way back. It's kinda giving super senior vibes, but it's Cynthia, so we're gonna let it slide. We see her again after defeating Jupiter at Team Galactic's not so secret base. She says she's been looking for us and wants to give us an egg, and I mean, who wouldn't want a free Togepi, so we take it and continue on our journey. Again, at this point, Cynthia just seems like a really nice auntie looking out for the kids. It is implied that you remind her of herself back in the day when she started her journey. Fast forward, we beat a couple gyms, beat Barry a couple times, and chased down some terrorist that made a bomb go off. Kinda crazy that was in the game. But after that, we meet her again at Lake Valor. She tells us about her research about a certain Pokemon living at Lake Valor, then just randomly brings up the Psyducks blocking your way on Route 210. As the kind trainer Cynthia is, she gives you a secret potion to get them to move. When we make it to Route 210 where the Psyduck are, we use the secret potion to get them to move, and suddenly Cynthia shows up again. It was quite the coincidence meeting her at this exact time, but now it makes more sense to why she wants you to come here, because she's asking for a huge favor. That being, we go deliver an old charm to her granny in Celestic Town. So at this point, she definitely tried to guilt trip cheese us into doing it, but she's helped us a lot, so it's only fair we do this for her. After about 5 hours of missing moves in the fog, we make our way to Celestic Town. We beat Cyrus and his team of unevolved Pokemon in Celestic Ruins, and we meet her again. She throws a sneak diss at Team Galactic for looking like a weird cult, and is glad we explored the ruins. So Cynthia probably just got us to bring the old tribe to her granny so we'd come see the ruins. After this, we don't see Cynthia for a while. That is until we reach Spear Pillar, where Garantina pops out the ground and takes Cyrus to the Distortion World. She rushes in and tells us she had figured out the mystery behind this mysterious Pokemon that was created alongside Dialga and Palkia, the Pokemon who shall not be named Garantina. You both pop a rift to go and hurry into the Distortion World to stop Cyrus from ending the world. As we navigate through the Distortion World puzzles, she keeps on theorizing what this world actually is. She speaks on how the Lake Trio can keep balance between Dialga and Palkia, but seems like they can't hear. She asks questions like, why is Garantina here alone? Why does this world exist? Once we keep going farther down, we reach Cyrus. You battle him and hopefully don't get EQ'd by his Gyarados and win the match. He storms off into the abyss. Then Cynthia tells you to calm Garantina by battling or catching it, and doing so should save the world. After this battle with Garantina, she decides to drop some random philosophical bars on us. The places we are born, the time we spend living, the languages we speak, we are all different, but the presence of Pokemon unites us. We share our lives with our Pokemon, and our happiness grows as we all become greater than we once were alone. Since there is sadness, we can feel joy. When there's anger, compassion is born. I really like this aspect of her character. She has helped us so much along the way, but also teaching some valuable lessons about life really shows her maturity. You then leave the Distortion World and end up in Sendoff Spring. She glazes us for saving the world and tells us to go back to the professor because he's worried about us. We talk to Rowan because he's worried about his retirement plan with us, then take a gym leader out of depression, then we go be the Elite Four so we can face the champion. As we walk into the champion's room, it is revealed the trainer that has helped us so much in our journey is also the champion. She accepts your challenge and you have the hardest battle you've had yet in Pokemon. If you were 7 like me and rocking some punky ass team, then it probably took you a couple tries to beat her Milotic and Garchomp. Her team slightly varies between Diamond, Pearl versus Platinum. In Diamond and Pearl, she's rocking with Spiritomb, Roserade, Lucario, Gastrodon, Milotic, and Garchomp. In Platinum, she subs Gastrodon for Togekiss. In BDSP, she actually has a comp lineup too. Flame Orb, Milotic, and Yachi Berry Garchomp were definitely hard kills when you're going into it with a super underleveled team. When you rematch her in these games, she subs out Roserade for Porygon Z, which is pretty random, but I mess with it. In the remakes, I'm glad they made her a decent challenge just like the game games prior. Once you defeat her, she is very humble and congratulates you on becoming champion. She happily takes you into the Hall of Fame room where Professor Rowan just spawns in. She drops some cheeky lore about how the last time the professor went into the Hall of Fame was with her, and that was a very long time ago, meaning Cynthia's probably been champion for at least a couple decades now. After that, there isn't too much Cynthia content left in Sinnoh. The last encounter we have with her is when we visit Celestic Ruins. She proposes a theory. Instead of this painting being interpreted as Mesprit, Azov, and Yuxi, with Dialga or Palkia being in the middle, what if it's actually Dialga, Palkia, and Garantina, and a different Pokemon with even more power in the middle? To the people back then, these legendary Pokemon must have shaken them to their core. This feeling of awe and wonder is what the painting partly represents. Since we're on the topic of Cynthia's theories, I'll go into the one I talked about earlier. This one comes from the mobile game Pokemon Masters. This game is not canon to the series in the way whatever happens to them is canon, but the characters' personalities and what they say is relative to what they would actually do in these situations. Anyway, Cynthia says, "This is my partner Garantina. It's able to move freely between our world and the other world. There are a few existing theories as to why Garantina was in a world like this. According to one, Garantina was banished to another world for its violence. However, as I kept examining myths and reference materials from different angles, I started to uncover the truth. I think Garantina is a kind soul, watching over our world from the shadows to protect us. This theory goes against everything Pokemon has set up for it to be. Cynthia often goes against what the norm is, and she seems to be implying these people interpret Garantina to be banished, but that is only how they viewed it, not actually what happened. As at Spear Pillar, when the Distortion World happens, we can see the world around us distorting. And again, I can see a world where people back in the day saw that happening and just started tweaking out. And with that, they just blame Garantina for it. This part of Cynthia's character I also love. She questions the past, even though these myths have been viewed one way for decades. She is not scared to challenge the norm and question the interpretations of these myths. After she ends her theory, that's about it for her content in Sinnoh. The next game we get to see her in is the remix of Gold and Silver. Since it is from an event, I'm sure a lot of people don't even know she was in these games in the first place. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, if you cheat your way in Arceus on your team and go to the ruins of Elf, you'll run into this guy. He tweaks out a bit because, you know, you're walking around with a Poké God and asks to take you to the ruins. Once you make your way to the ruins, you get teleported to this random snowy place. You go to a nearby cabin and meet the champion of the Sinnoh region just chilling there. She introduces herself as a Pokemon trainer, again being very nonchalant about being the champion. Then says the location we are at is the Sinjoh ruins. She senses the power of Arceus in your Pokeball and tells you to come to the ruins and something interesting will happen. Once you enter the ruins, she states that if Arceus steps on the mysterious stage, one of the Pokemon that possesses the power of time, space, and antimatter will be born. The Pokemon that are depicted on the stage are the Pokemon that created the world, with the circle in the middle being Arceus, the origin of it all. You step on one of the circles, then get one of the most interesting PowerPoint slideshows ever made. This whole encounter is really strange, but Cynthia views this as Arceus showing us the circle of life. You obtain one of the legendary Pokemon of whichever spot you pick, and after that you get teleported back to the Johto region. And that's pretty much all we get from Cynthia in these games. The next game she appears in is in Gen 5. When you enter a random villa in Pokemon Black and White, I'm sure we all had our Winter Soldier moment hearing that piano go off. She says she's here to research the nearby Abyssal ruins, but in the meantime, to get to know each other, we should battle. Her team is relatively similar to those in comparison to the past. She switches out Roserade and Gastrodon for Electros and Braviary. In Black and White 2, her team slightly varies as switching out Roserade for Glaceon. After winning or probably losing against her, she continues to chill in the villa with a few other dialogue options. One being, I have a black and white swimsuit. Which one would look better on me? It's just so sad knowing someone drew Cynthia in a bathing suit purely off this dialogue. Cynthia does appear one more time in Gen 5, and that is in the Pokemon World Tournament. She appears in the Champion Tournament where every champion comes to face off to see who is the strongest. In this tournament, her team replaces Roserade for Milotic. There isn't a lot of crazy dialogue here, but just Cynthia being her usual wise and humble self. She appears in one more game, that being in Sun and Moon at the Battle Tree. Just like the Pokemon World Tournament, she is one of the bosses you have to face to climb to the top of the tree. She's rocking her usual team, but the only major differences would be that her Lucario and Garchomp are able to Mega Evolve, depending on what lineup she picks. And that wraps it up for her appearances in the game. She is known to be a great role model, wise, smart, strong, and humble. In the anime, they do a great job of showcasing this as well, as she has her own battle style and tactics that are unique and different from the rest of the competition. One of the first times we see her battle is in Diamond and Pearl, where Cynthia goes to face Paul. She just completely turbo clap cheeks and makes it very obvious she ain't no weak trainer. If we fast forward to the Masters 8, we can really see how strong Cynthia is. The Masters 8 is where the 8 strongest trainers face off to see who the strongest is. Cynthia first faces off against Iris in the quarterfinals. It's a 3v3 battle where Cynthia manages to come out on top, where her Garchomp barely beats Iris's Haxorus. The next match she participates in is the semifinals versus Ashe. Her IQ here starts to show a lot more in this battle. Her battle style consists of perma switching out to favor her type matchup. Not necessarily crazy IQ, but I swear she's the only one that switches this much in a battle. Even though she's switching into favorable matchups, somehow this little Jit Pikachu takes out Gastrodon with a quick attack. Like, he's been getting away with this for too long. But after this, Cynthia sends in her Spiritomb to let it die to Pikachu. This is so Spiritomb can use Destiny Bond to take down Pikachu with it, which is a crazy net gain taking out Ashe's ace for her Spiritomb. Fast forward to the end of the battle where it comes down to Mega Lucario versus Garchomp. Ashe just keeps spamming Bullet Punch and Garchomp keeps spamming Dragon Claw, and both of them drop at the same time. After this, Lucario just kind of gets up and that's it. It doesn't really seem that dramatic. So yeah, Cynthia does lose to this Bullet Punch spamming cheeser. Even though she takes the L, it was an impressive battle. I'm sure there is a lot more Cynthia content out there, but I feel like I covered a decent basis on what her character is supposed to represent. Make sure to let me know your favorite part of Cynthia's character, and don't forget to subscribe. I'm trying to hit 3K very soon. That's it from me, and I'll see y'all whenever I see y'all.